You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening? Let's get cranking, Business and Life Nation. Today we're talking to Jean Ginzburg, digital marketing expert, #1 best-selling author, and award-winning entrepreneur. Jean, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you on. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you. And let's start with that. Maybe give our audience something interesting about yourself and also where you're calling from.
Yeah. So I am currently in Denver, which is where I live. And it's not too bad. I mean, in terms of, I like the cold. So I'm one of those people that likes the cold. And when people tell me that, they think I'm crazy, but that's just how I am. And I don't do well in the heat. I don't really like to go to the tropics. So that's just me.
Well, that works out then.
Yeah. So in terms of a little bit about me, I'm a digital marketing expert and social media expert. I've been doing this for 13 years. I know I am like a dinosaur in this industry.
Right, yeah.
Started back a long time ago, 7 years ago, started my own business. Been running my own digital marketing agency and consultancy, which is agencies where I started when I started my own business. Then it rolled into an agency and consultancy. It's kind of been expanding. So there's many more things that have come on board over the last several years. I also have now an education part of the company. So all of the learnings we've had for creating campaigns for our clients in digital and social, we then created courses and trainings about digital marketing and social media. So basically a DIY approach for entrepreneurs who want to learn, but might not have the budget to hire an agency or something like that.
Oh,
and
cool.
then recently just launched a group called Women Entrepreneurs in Digital Marketing, and also a podcast also called under the same name, Women Entrepreneurs in Digital Marketing. So supporting women entrepreneurs in digital marketing, and just creating a supportive environment for them. It was done with me and a partner of mine, and we just felt there's a gap. There's a lot of entrepreneur groups, there's a lot of digital marketing groups, but just not a lot of women entrepreneurs in digital marketing. And then also working on a very brand new tech company in the cannabis space. Very new. Cool. Yeah. So very infancy stages. So we'll see how that goes.
A lot going on. That's awesome.
Yes. Serial entrepreneur, I guess. I never thought I'd say that.
Well, tell me a little bit about Jean. So it's jeanginzburg.com. Is that right?
Yeah. So I have a couple of websites. So ginball.co is my agency website. And then jeanginzburg.com is my personal brand. And that's where I have all of basically my podcasts, my blogs, and then everything related to the education side of my company.
So who is the typical client for the marketing agency?
So we typically work with tech companies, startups, software companies, SaaS companies. So those, I would say, have been doing really well for us in terms of just we've gained experience. We love working with those companies. We love working with tech companies because they're like hungry and they're just like, they want to get that tech out there. And so we really enjoy working with those kinds of companies. So I'd say, tech and software and startups.
There's a lot of companies out there right now that are experiencing a lot higher cost per clicks and acquisitions. What do you think is the reason for that, and what can they do?
Yes. So that is happening. And that happens on every platform. Back in the day when Google AdWords came out, you can get a 5 cents a click.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't remember that, but I know that it just was happening. And, that was 20 years ago.
It's funny. I don't remember it as much. I do now that I see the difference, right? Like I was like, I now I remember it because how much of a lower cost per lead and cost per acquisition our analytics show, right? But yes, definitely getting pricier. Why do you think that is?
So I think that's been happening all across the board. So with Google AdWords, now it's happening with Facebook and Instagram. So that's just the normal progression, I believe, when it comes to these kinds of technology platforms, right? You start off small, nobody maybe knew really Google AdWords at the time. Then marketers and advertisers come in, they drive up the price. It's an auction site, right? So everything's done on an auction, right? So more people come in, more advertisers. Same thing with Facebook, beginning 10 years ago, nobody really was advertising on Facebook. And now there's like over 1 million advertisers. So it just drives up the costs. And now you can't really get 5 cents a click.
Yeah, there's an economies of scale aspect to it in terms of actually understanding that the economy is doing well. Thus, people are going to put more money towards marketing. Thus, the platform itself says, let's charge more. Yeah. And it's a no-brainer. It's a supply and demand, I think, aspect. And unfortunately, the consumer used to win on some levels. And I think they still win, of course, because they're able to still do business. But at some point, I think all the listeners listening to this, I don't want them to be like, oh, no, I don't know what to do with marketing. It's costing too much. You just got to be a little smarter about it, I think. And agencies like yours obviously can help with that. But you just got to be a little smarter of what you put your money and A/B test. Yeah,
absolutely. And I would say one thing I would just add on to that is that also it depends on what your objectives are on Facebook. So, for example, if you're doing cost per lead, and you're driving traffic to a landing page to fill out a lead, that's really expensive. But if you're trying to do that an ad that's going to a Facebook Messenger bot, then it's much cheaper to do it that way. So it just depends also on like what your goals are and what your objectives are.
So you've had you've had some entrepreneurial, I guess, obviously background here. We just went over a few different ones and obviously some aspiring ones that you have coming up, which is exciting. It sounds like for you, but give me a time where you felt you've hit rock bottom in your journey and were able to kind of overcome some disaster or just a big objection.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think. There certainly have been low points in my entrepreneurial career. I don't know if I would call them maybe rock bottom, but there were definitely a couple of times in my entrepreneurial career where I didn't have any clients or I was down to like one client. And that's a little scary, it really makes you think. I would say one of the first times I kind of started thinking about is back when I first started being an entrepreneur, I quit my full-time job and I went to consult for one company. So I was basically almost working as like a full-time consultant for them. But then after about 6 months, I realized, what happens if this client goes away, right? Like this is one client. I don't have any backups. I don't have any other revenue sources at this point. So that's when I first started thinking about like, I need to create an agency. I can't sustain on working for just one client. And eventually, of course, that one client went away, just churning when it comes to agencies. So I had, so it took me about a year to kind of grow the business to the point where I could sustain it without, and have the ability to lose that client without, closing doors basically for my business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think sometimes it's, not different for many others, especially the very beginning is those hurdles, initially to try to get over. And then, having that one client paying the bills is scary, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Sure. I've been there. I get it. Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step, and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith with me. Go to michaellevis.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's michaellevis.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help. Why do you think a lot of entrepreneurs out there talking about these kind of struggles? Why do you think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that just either give up on their business and their dreams?
Well, it's challenging. Absolutely. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to process. There's a lot to do when it comes to your business. So, a lot of times people are just like, this is too much, you really have to have the stamina and the endurance to continue on with your business, but really also have the dream, right? I think one of the reasons why people, give up on being an entrepreneur is like, they don't have that big picture dream that really gets them up in the morning and that allows them to be like, yes, I want to go after this dream. Right. I want to do it. And a lot of times they do it for the wrong reasons. And so I think that's one of the reasons why eventually they're like, well, I don't have that dream, so I'm just gonna go back to having a full-time job.
Right. No, you're right. It's just that sometimes the safety blanket is the easier, I guess, way to go. But if you're looking for the easy route, and most of our listeners get that are either aspiring and or current entrepreneurs, that we chose the hard one, right? And that's okay, because we think there's obviously a lot more fruits of your labor at the end of the tunnel here. What are you excited about right now within the marketing space, for example?
Let's see. I mean, there's so many things that are that are going on. I think one of the things that I'm excited about is incorporating what I would call AI or more automation into your marketing. So I don't know, maybe about 6 months ago or so, I was listening in on a webinar, and they were talking about how probably in 5 or 10 years, like there's not really going to be like marketing is going to be really, for the most part, all automated. Like copy is going to be like, you can get AI to write copy. You can get, people, or like you can get AI to set up campaigns on Facebook. You can get AI to, monitor, to optimize campaigns, let's say on any platform. So it's like, wow. Eventually there's just going to be like a strategist who comes up with like the idea, and then all of the things that we do now manually, like setting up campaigns and optimizing campaigns and writing copy and creating images, all of that will then be done eventually by some sort of AI being. So I'm really excited about that.
I can see there being an algorithm for that, right? I think you can probably see that too, knowing that this is your world, and I've been in the marketing world for years. Not that I do digital marketing, but I do our own for the company for years, about 7 years, and understood all the platforms from all of them, even Snapchat and the Twitter world and the LinkedIn world. And I think at some point it's taken historical data and playing with it, right? And so can an algorithm do some of those things? Yes, but it's very specific to industries, and also, but they can still probably tweak a few things. I want to kind of ask you your thoughts on this. I think it's exciting, but how realistic is it that an AI can respond to somebody, and let's say it's a service, and be successful? When I say successful, like close a deal. Like I have my thoughts on it, but I want to hear yours. Like, do you think at some point someone still wants to pick up the phone and talk to somebody?
Yes, that is true. People do, of course, want to talk to a human being. But just to kind of take a step back,
yeah.
I mean, you probably have seen that whatever is the equivalent of Siri on Google allows you to like make reservations at restaurants now. So it's an AI being that sure. calls restaurants and makes reservations, and not just like robotically makes reservations like for at a restaurant where they're like, hi, I would like to make a reservation, but like actually like talking to them in a human form. So I mean, that's already happening now. Like this is already in the works. Like it's not like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I would say that eventually, I think that all of the pre-work will then be done by AI. So for example, closing a deal, like I think all of the back-end support for sales will be done by an AI being, but eventually a human might have to actually like, meet face-to-face and close the deal. So yes, I agree that, that it's not going to be 100% done by AI, but I think maybe 95 of it eventually will be done by.
Well, I think you hit on something very like important, Gene, which you eventually, well, yeah, you're right. Because if you think about it, like eventually everyone's just going to assume this is the norm.
Yes.
Right. And that's what's wild. In 10 years, sure, things will always evolve and things will always change. And I think high ticket items will personally continuously still have to have that warm, fuzzy feeling. But if people are buying 20, 30, 50, 100, $200,000+ cars online, right, Len, there's something to be said with that. Of course, those things have the brands and the recognition already, but I still think there's a lot to be said about the personal approach when it comes to a service industry product. Not so much, to be honest with you. They can sell that with a video and some ads and some before and afters if it's a skin product or something, right? Like that's possible, I think, and that's great. But it shows that value quick. But I think there's definitely still a lot on the personal touch approach. But it's wild that it's going that way. I love the feedback on that, but it's also like
that's where I think things are going.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's wild because the future of it, like when you said eventually, I just put like our future caps on. Like eventually, we didn't ever think about 10 years ago. Eventually, there would be no landlines, and it's about to be that way soon, right?
Yeah, like that's true, right? I mean, we all grew up on landlines, like And now, like, no, there's no pay phones. I mean,
Yeah,
where do you find a
exactly.
pay phone?
Yeah. Or the emergency phone box when I'm driving, if I have a long road trip, it's like there's emergency phone boxes. Luckily, I think every once in a while I'll still see one in Southern California area, like, or an I-5 all the way down the Grapevine, there'll be some. But yeah, those are kind of gradually going away too. Like, why? If someone has a charger and a phone and a battery that's running, then they probably have a cell phone, right? So
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is the reception is like,
right,
if you're in a
that's
dead
a big
zone.
one. Oh, you're right.
That,
It's probably important in Colorado where there's mountains everywhere and receptions probably can be spotty. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely, that can happen.
Out of all your successes in business and your failures, give us one piece of parting advice to the Business and Life Nation listening today.
Well, my piece of advice for any entrepreneur is always to continue learning. Never stop learning. That is what I always say, because then just you're not going to evolve if you stop learning, because that's really how we, as human beings, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, really drive our business. And especially if you're in digital marketing, you cannot stop learning, because things change on a daily basis when it comes to digital marketing. Like, I always say, it's like, depends on what Mark Zuckerberg's feelings are today. He might change the algorithm on Facebook. So like, or he might add a new feature on Facebook. So it's like literally things change like weekly. I feel like I am when it comes to digital marketing and social media. So with new platforms popping up, with new features on things like Facebook or Instagram, so you have to continuously stay on top of it. Especially if you're in digital marketing, and can always continue learning.
No, you're absolutely right. I think especially in digital marketing, you're right. You say that, and this is your topic, this is your world, and I think you're absolutely right. If you're not, you're likely just going to spend more money.
Yes.
And that's just the bottom line. Like, I was in Tahoe recently with friends. Like, how do you know how to play craps? Like, I read a book on this. Like, I watched videos on this. Like, I'm not going to put my money somewhere where I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that I'm walking away with millions of dollars, right? Like, I'm just, likelihood of me losing is a lot less odds wise, because I understand it. Same thing with any kind of industry. But if you're listening out there, digital marketing world, that's why, and a pitch obviously to you, Gene, an agency to you like yours is, that's why companies like mine and others out there pay agencies, because do we have that time and effort to be the best at everything and learn everything? No, that's why there's agencies that can help you make sure you're optimizing the right way. And when it's all said and done, if you're doing it the right way and you have a right agency like yours, I'm sure, Gene, it's like really more of they pay for itself, right? And that's a really big important thing for people to understand. Like, I can't afford it. Maybe you can't afford not to, and you might want to look at Gene's website. So why don't you give us where we can actually find you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on JeanGinzburg.com, and all social media is also Jean Ginzburg. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, it's all at Jean Ginzburg. So I hope to hear from you guys. And thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Liebus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.